Here's an overall of the area that we're going to be walking through, and we're going to start pretty much on Avenue Balboa. Then we're going to walk up Uruguay, and then turn around and come back down a little bit and start walking over toward the main thoroughfare, Boyd. And then we're going to come down, and then we're going to walk across this awesome park. You'll see that. We'll spend some time there. And then we'll start our way back. And we're going to go up a street and then come by, so like right through here. Then we're going to go across this street, which is pretty neat stuff there. Also that great Greek restaurant that I told you about ages ago in a different video. Come back down Boyd and then cut back over toward where we were staying in the Waldorf, but we're going to keep right on going. And then come back down to Avenue Balboa and then back to the U where we started at. And as an overview, that's the park we're going to be going to. We're going to be walking to there, but way up, and then coming around to it. Now here's the U where we're going to be starting from, and we're just going to swing around, give you an idea of, that's Avenue Balboa. A couple streets in the park, and then there's the bay and the ocean.
We're looking at Avenida Balboa on the waterfront of Panama City.
One more swing around so you get a little feel for it because it's so beautiful here. And then
That's
we're going to
the ocean?
Yep, and then we're going to start walking away from the water on the street that's right there on the corner at the Meridian Hotel.
And that's Calle, Uruguay.
Interesting side note, the Meridian Hotel and the other one there, the Intercontinental, both owned by the Byrne Group, which is the same people that we were talking about for the Costa del Este condo where, they would hold the mortgage. Big hotel group, big construction group and things. They're the people. They also have a Western and a couple Holiday Inns and stuff, and, big company. Not sure what they're building here, but they're building something right behind the Meridian. And as you can see there, you see that little logo there? The bear on the red flag? Looks like a Swiss
The
thing.
crest, yeah. That's the Byrne crest.
Yeah. A lot of little shops right here as we walk up Uruguay.
And you'll see a lot of this live-work situation where the ground floor has shops or restaurants or businesses, and then above it is residences.
One thing as we go forward here, we're trying to do with this, we've never done one exactly like this. We went and did the walking and just didn't say a word. We're just walking around with a camera,
Well, we did
nonstop.
some talking because I just can't help it.
Yeah. But then we're talking over what we shot and giving you like a blow-by-blow of this is what's there. That's a restaurant right there with all the green shrubbery and things. It's a really pretty one. We'll show you what that looks like at night in just a second, and we had it in one of the other videos. Gonna go down this street for just about 10 more steps just to show you that what's here a little bit. We'll come back through this street around the end, but that right there, that orangey, brownish building that we're showing you going up right now, that's the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. Beautiful hotel.
Yeah, very nice inside. We've been in there. And please make note of the sidewalks as we go through these videos, because some of them we will point out with video where you can see some of them are broken up, where you have to be careful walking, especially at night, but others are very well done.
Yeah, and here's that same restaurant at night.
And that's where we saw Jason.
Yeah.
From Boquete.
So the street can tend to look, maybe a little plain, but at night it comes alive for the things that are open because there are a bunch of restaurants on here. What this used to be is mainly bars, I guess, if you drop back 10, 12 years ago, and bars went out of business, and it's being changed dramatically now. There's a lot of construction. Almost every other building is being redone. So, old one, brand new one. Right there, they're redoing that one where all the green shrubbery is. That's a restaurant. And then over here, we'll tell you what this is in just a second. There's a little park, but behind that is the new condo building coming.
Yeah, so this is the one that we had shown you in a previous video where it was a buy, live, and rent situation. And this is the city center location where that one development is going to be.
Yeah, and it backs up against the Waldorf Astoria, which you're going to see in just a second. And there it is right there where it says coming soon. That's what that condo building is going to be. It was 300 grand-ish roughly, you know, and it will have Airbnb licenses so you can do renting.
Which is hardly ever available. Well, I was right. Malo Design House is responsible for designing that building that I love in Puente Leti at the top of the park. And I just spoke with Hamilton, who came out, and he didn't want to be on camera, but he was kind enough to talk to me and confirm that in fact that is the designer, except it is quite old construction, and he said that he would see if there was any information about it and he would email it to me. Isn't that wonderful? I love it. People here are just so lovely. So as we walk up this street, you see it's really hit and miss of, you know, the really wonderful new places and the places that need attention, and even, as I showed you, the one that was abandoned looking. This is clearly a street that is being gentrified here in a big way. And so I think property values on this street and around it have already risen, and I'm sure they're just going to keep going up because you see people working and you see the new restaurants. And even at the top of the street here where we're looking towards, not this one, we're Tosto, so this is a cafe. But the next street is the very top of the street. It doesn't go right through. That is Calle 50. And if I go all the way up, there is a Hooters on the left at the corner, interestingly enough, and a gas station on the right-hand side.
A lot of activity on that Tosto corner, this corner right here. I mean, this is new. On the opposite corner, it's new. And there's some condos being built down here a little bit. And there's one little restaurant down here. But we're going to get back on Uruguay and start walking up. We're going to walk up to the Hooters, like Vivi mentioned earlier. And then we're going to come right back down to this corner because it's only a block. We're going to jump from Hooters area right back to here and then walk down that street.
See that vertical strip along the sidewalk? Even these newer sidewalks have it. And what I learned was this is actually a strip for the visually impaired so that they can have their walking stick in the grooves, which takes them in a very straight, safe line to the next curb.
So we're going to walk up to the corner. I found it interesting. Hooters is still going okay here. It's still in business where, you know, I think they went bankrupt everywhere else, but...
Well, so far, we'll see.
Well, that's true.
On the right, of course, is the gas station I mentioned. And this is Calle 50.
And for those of you who are not familiar with Spanish, Calle is the word for street, so Calle 50 is 50th Street.
Which is one of the main streets, and it is going horizontal the same direction as the waterfront.
If you see there, you see where it says 87.1? That's 87.1 cents per liter, which at the time would have been $3.13 US dollars for a US gallon. So, and this was back right around the beginning of February when we filmed this. So things are, it was cheaper then than it was back in the States, and I'm sure it's probably under $3 now. All right, let's jump back. Okay, now we're back on that street.
49th.
That's a new restaurant and club bar that's about to open. That thing right on the left there. They're still working on that, and then this is going to turn into pretty much residential area as we walk through it. Here's one of your favorites, the sidewalk.
Yeah, you'll see that could be pretty tricky at night if it's not lit up well.
Nice house.
Very nice.
Yeah. And we're doing this and going slow because so many people have told us that they like our driving videos because they're nonstop, and you can see in real time the way something looks and you get a feel for it. We decided to try one out and do a walking one with the same idea and just go walk through, and if you were walking along with us, this is what you're going to see. Exactly this.
Exactly. So all of you friends are very generous, leaving your comments and questions for us under the videos, and we hear you, and we're hoping that this will also fit with what you'd like to hear from us and see.
One of the things you'll find pretty interesting about Panama City, certainly for a lot of the area of downtown, I don't know, for at least from the water, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blocks going in all directions, you'll see something that looks a little older, a little maybe, the paint's peeling a little bit or whatever. And then either next to it or close to it will be something that's brand new. The city is really turning over fairly quickly.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way it goes when an area is being gentrified, right?
Yeah, like look at those cool buildings in the back there. Like glass one. That's awesome looking, very modern looking. A little bit out of place with some of the older stuff that we're going to walk by. But eventually everything will be looking like that.
And you may also notice, as I do, that there are so many young trees that have been planted in the new sidewalk areas right here downtown. And I love to see that because the last thing you want to do is see like a clear-cut area with no trees downtown, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things I'm going to throw out here, and it'll be just my luck that some car will come by and won't fit that, but sometimes if you've never been to a country and you wonder, well, is it a poor country, is it a rich country, is it a middle class country or whatever, pay a little attention to the cars that you'll see drive by, because the cars that drive by and the newness of them and the type of cars they are, you get a pretty decent feel that this is not a poor country. People here.
And you can see the cars parked on the street there.
Yeah. Even the cabs don't look beat up. They're in nice condition. That's a medical supply place, Latinx.
And speaking of the cars, you're not really getting what I sometimes notice in Mexico, which is a lot of exhaust smell from cars. So the fact that they're newer and well-kept vehicles, you're not getting a lot of that street odor. Although they do have the honking language, right?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to come back to this corner after we go all the way down the streets, whip around through the park and everything. This is the corner that we're going to come back to where that guy is with the flowers. And then we're going to go walk down a couple streets and cut over to the left.
We just kind of zigzag around a little bit.
Yeah, well, I showed you that in the initial map. But right now, we're going to walk down this street because it's a major avenue. And we're going to go down to that tall building right at the end, which is the Intercontinental Hotel. That's a side street. Okay. Turn around, turn to the left. Dude, turn to the left. Dude, turn to the left. There we go. Back on track. Again, they're building something here on the right. The Intercontinental, as we get closer to it, it's a really beautiful hotel. Big, too.
And you know, a couple of years ago, we were noticing that it was looking a little bit tired and run down, and we were pleased to see that they do seem to be taking good care of it.
Yeah, they painted the whole thing again. So it was like, it was like, whoa, that thing's really white, super spiffy.
And it was kind of special to us because we got married at an Intercontinental.
Yeah, during COVID. We were the only one in the hotel.
Mirador Records. We never did go in there, but it's a curious place. I wonder if they're selling vinyl.
It's a cool building. It would look pretty neat if they refurbished it, because it is a little run down. But it just looks like the architecture was pretty cool. Down that street is where the Waldorf is. Just so trying to help you get your bearings of what you're watching. And that's the street we're going to walk down again to get back.
Notice the
to
cage
Waldorf.
for the trash bins. I don't know what animals might be getting into it at night, but that's going to be a tough one to get into.
Yeah, probably raccoons, you would assume.
Do you think sloths come down and eat the garbage at night?
Yes, very slowly.
That's funny.
They'll get like one bagel and make it last all night long to eat it. I'm not sure what these guys were hanging around for, but there was a bunch of them there, and they weren't waiting for a bus or anything. So I don't know if it was like a taxi thing where they switch cars, or I don't know. Anyway, that's the Intercontinental right in front of us.
I wonder if they were, waiting for work opportunities or something.
We're back to Avenue Balboa. This is a very busy street. Very nice looking streets, very pretty.
And
we're-
right behind the Intercontinental is the ocean.
Yeah. And now we're going to go into the park. Parque Urraca.
There's this path that goes all the way around the park and through it, which is kind of nice for walking. There is a dog park in here. This is like a dog training area, which was really cool. At times we did see people training their dogs, and there you see somebody now, but they're taking a rest. Hello.
Hola.
People in Panama are so friendly. They really are. This is a really big park too. This is not small, and there's a baseball. I was going to say stadium, but
Diamond.
yeah, baseball diamond, and we've gone by here a bunch of times at night, and we'd be coming back from maybe a restaurant or something. It'd be like 11 o'clock at night, and they're like in the third inning, and they're still playing till like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning because it's lit, and they can. And you'll see the ball diamond in just a bit.
We're going to zoom in on all of these important people's names who I have no idea who they are.
Well, there's their name. They're telling you what they.
Yeah, I'm just not a great historian.
Yeah.
We have come through here and seen so many different things going on. We see little groups of people rehearsing dance routines. We've seen people singing. We see people exercising and doing all different kinds of sports. And obviously, like you see now, kids and parents playing together, or just kids. Like, there's always activity going on. Even now, as you see, it's quite empty. There's still always something.
Yeah, this is a weekday, and I think this was like maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon, going through doing this. And also it was threatening rain, possibly, as you can kind of tell from the clouds. So the park is, relatively empty. Certainly way more empty than it normally is. But there's the ballpark right there. But let me show you this thing. Because, when it's rainy season, it does rain here. And it really comes down in a torrent. Check this water runoff thing that I'm about to show you. Love those buildings.
Some of the buildings around this park are super high end.
Yeah. Okay, so take a look at this. This was like a moat around a castle. This thing was deep to catch the water runoff. That's not like a typical, up from the street, which is like what, maybe 2 inches typically at home. I mean, this thing was like, I don't know, 2 feet deep, all the way around. They clearly didn't want to ruin the ball diamond, having it get all wet and muddy and stuff.
Well, you learn. You live and you learn, and they've figured out how to manage the heavy rainfall.
Yeah. Those are all pretty much new condos. All around here, the condos are, I would say they're, 8 years or less. Maybe 10 max.
I can't also say enough how much I appreciate that they respect and maintain the trees in this city. I know this is a park, but you will see trees everywhere. The grass is a little trickier to keep because, of course, they have very, very hot days sometimes, and I guess in windy season, or dry season as they call it, there's just not enough to keep the grass growing.
Yeah, if this was rainy season, these things would be super green and plush.
So many of the shrubs and bushes were blooming. There are plants here growing wild in parks and gardens that you only see in plant pots in North America.
Down there is the water again. So,
And the basketball court.
yeah, watch this little kid. He so wanted to actually, he saw me filming, and he so wanted to make a shot on film, but he kept missing.
Aww.
His little brother was yelling at him, "Come on, make one." Boom. I so badly wanted to put one in on camera. That's funny. Kinda cool. Let's see, do one more. Cute.
An interesting thing about the Spanish language is the accuracy and politeness. There's the buenos dias, the good morning, buenas tardes, the good afternoon, buenas noches, the good evening. Like, people are just so polite and have a greeting for every occasion. They're just lovely here.
There's two restaurants on the corner. You can see the one there. It's what is it? El Pinche and Gallo, which is basically chicken. It's a chicken restaurant mainly, and then next to it is a Mexican restaurant. And within the last 2 years, they've been both sort of refurbished because they were looking a little old, and now they look a lot spiffier than they did 2 years ago.
And look at that brand new building. Well, not brand new, a couple of years. Costanera there is an astounding condo building. And when you go off to the left here, there are the supermarkets. We'll have to share some listings of some of these buildings so people can see what they go for.
The first time I saw this restaurant, I thought, okay, well, I guess it's a Greek restaurant. So, but then went in, and it's actually a bakery. It's a Greek bakery. So it's kind of like a Dunkin' Donuts, except super high end looking inside. Neat bakery with coffee shops and a cafe and all that stuff. But from a distance, it was like, oh, this is another Greek restaurant, because we're about to walk up to that really cool Greek restaurant that we showed you, in one of our really early videos, called Mezzes. Mezzes,
yeah. They had a huge patio, and it was all behind a big wall. So walking down the street, if you didn't know it was there, you could totally miss it. Mm-hmm. It was very private. Like going to a secret club. But it wasn't.
This is going to look sort of a horrible area, but this was actually a really pretty residential area.
And note the sidewalk.
But they're redoing stuff here, and this yellow building that you see that looks a little grim, this evidently at some point was like a hotel, and then it was a restaurant, and then I think it was a hotel again, and like a boutique place, and then fell on harder times, and they're redoing it now into something else. I have no idea what.
I'm sure it'll be something spectacular. I mean, it's a really big and beautiful architecturally designed building.
Mm-hmm. You get an idea of what's sort of here. If you see that building right there with the motorcycle in front of it, that is a massive house, huge house.
Yeah, it's a private residence. Look at the big terrace on the second floor over the garages.
Big wall all around it and stuff. Yeah, it's a pretty cool street. A lot of them are big houses here, so people have money for sure. See, I think that area right there was part of eating out in the restaurant. That's their patio area, but now not so much. That was a house. That yellow one turned into a daycare.
So you see a lot of the curved arch top windows and that sort of Spanish influence, but I feel like Panama sort of has its own mixed style. And there's the Greek restaurant, Meze. So you see what I mean? You go in through this gate and you're going way up into the restaurant, and then inside there's also a big, huge outdoor a terrace area where people are dining, or you go and eat inside. The food was great.
Food was excellent. Really, really good. Didn't know what this place was, but it's really, really large. You can see, how long that wall is. I'm not sure if it was a government building or some really high-profile person, family, maybe company that has this, but, we're taking a
This is a big property.
Yeah, this is a huge property. And the wall is kind of cool because the wall is like almost artwork in itself. Like
It's stone, yeah.
You can kind of feel the wall. Like, here, go over there and feel the wall.
And there's peak holes.
Come on, feel the wall. Feel the wall. There you go.
Oh, that's funny.
She didn't know that was coming.
I did not.
All right, so we're back to that corner. So now we're going to make a right-hand turn. Do a little spin around here just so you get an idea where we are. That building right in front, that really tall one, that's the W Hotel.
The mirrored glass reflective
With the gold
building.
on top, yeah. So, all right, let's start walking back down toward the Intercontinental, and we're going to go down, I think, 2 blocks, and then we're going to make a left and start going back toward the Waldorf Astoria.
I thought the W Hotel had a W at the top.
Well, it did, but the angle there made it look, you couldn't see the W because you're looking at it from the side.
Different angle.
I
Got
think,
me.
I think it
You
just
got
looked
me.
like a V. Again, another nice house. I mean, it's a cool looking home right there.
What a great property in there. And you see a lot of these iron gates and walls and so on, but when we asked around, it's more a function of the style, which adds function, than it is a feeling of people need all of that for security. I think people just like to be private more than needing security, don't you?
Yeah, you could easily climb over that fence. I mean, if it was security, you'd see those spikes and things and razor blades and all that. But there's none of that.
That's a cool building.
It is, yeah. Nice condo building.
A little bit of an Art Deco style with all the curved edges.
Mm-hmm. Now, what we are right now is we're 1 block north away from the water from Avenue Balboa. Okay? And we're going to be walking down this street.
And
we're
peeping
gonna,
into people's properties on the way.
Yeah, well, you got to do that pretty much. So we're going to be walking down back to the corner where that restaurant was that we, gave you a picture of it at daytime and then at nighttime, and then back to the Waldorf Astoria. And then we're going to keep running and walking on this street, and we're going to go down
There's something
a
for
couple
sale
long
on the
blocks,
right.
and we're going to go down to where the banking area is. There's 6, 7, 8 banks all in one group, and then we're going to swing around and come back down to Avenue Balboa.
It's a nice restaurant here.
Yeah, there's a couple of them here. Yeah, it's
Across the street, we had gone to one, and then there was another one right next to it, which last year was there, and this year they were not there.
yeah. Well, look again, turnover. It's tough to do a video like this if you go through in the daytime because a lot of the stuff is going to be empty, the restaurants. But at nighttime, all of a sudden everything's lit up and there's totally a bunch of people in them, which is cool. That was a neat government building. Like, looks like they just either refurbished it or just built it because, it looks like,
Yeah, it's pristine.
yeah, it's kind of almost like you're in Rome or something like that.
Again, notice that track along the sidewalk. That's on almost every sidewalk.
Okay, so we're going to make the right-hand turn. We're going to go by a restaurant that the building doesn't look great, but the food was really good. This is it's a London pub.
I don't know. I didn't think I would say that the food was.
Well, what I thought was good. Maybe you ordered wrong.
Well, being gluten-free, I do have my limitations with ordering in many places.
Yeah. Okay, so here we are, back at the Waldorf Astoria, one block up from the Avenue Balboa, and we're going to go through here, and we'll describe what's on this street. A lot of neat stuff here. A lot of really pretty, beautiful condo buildings. The back of the U building is here too, that YOO building that we also did a video on. I actually looked at the pricing of of what the two-bedroom condo would be in that building on the right. I'm going to hopefully the camera turns here. Forgot what I shot, but yeah, right there, that building right there. And it's both of those really nice building, and it's like a couple $100,000. 2 bedroom, 210, 220. And they were pretty good size too. They weren't like 900 square feet, or they were like
Oh my gosh, don't you hate those?
they were like 2 bedroom for like 1,300 square feet. Pretty decent size. Restaurant. A lot of restaurants on this street.
Le Melonga.
Restaurant, obviously. I'm not sure what they're doing here. This is like a parking garage, but they're also kind of building a bar in there, which was, I'm not quite sure, how that works out, but, okay.
We'll see.
Crepes and Waffles. This is a chain that's across Panama. It's also in Colombia, because we ate at a Crepes and Waffles in Colombia also.
And as I recall, they had a lot of great smoothies in here, reasonably priced, and lots of different breakfast food options, but not a lot that was gluten-free.
Yeah, and crepes and waffles. Go figure.
Imagine.
Yeah. There's the Panama building, the U building right there. And
Yeah, so this is the back. So when we walked in from Avenida Balboa, right there, you can see all the way through to Avenida Balboa, and you can walk under the drive-through to get to the next street. And this B-Dubs is right opposite on the street behind it. But then there's like the supermarket right here and a couple of restaurants and just different eating options there were a lot of people came here for lunches that were working in the area.
Yeah, the B-Dubs is, it's a chicken wings place, basically.
No, I was meaning these restaurants on the right.
These here, yeah, because
This is like an old school food court right here, the Feria Marbella. You go in there and there's all these different booths of people offering food for lunches, and it was quite busy. Just as this sort of mall thing was with different food court restaurant things.
Yeah, there's the market in here, and also a couple little restaurants that are in this building, because now we're getting to the banking area as we get up to this corner, and we'll go to the corner, show you a bunch of banks that you can see, swing the camera around a bunch of times, and and then we'll start heading toward Avenue Balboa.
There were times that we walked down the street that there would be lineups of people waiting for food from these restaurants.
Banesco Bank here. There's a Banistamo, also Banco General. Banco General. That's right there straight ahead. See what it says with the stars? 5-star General?
And several banks up there to the left, as we mentioned. So they're just one after the other.
Bank of Colombia, Banistmo. There was a few more up there. I can't remember the names. There's that W, that with the gold on top.
Sorry, we're making you a little dizzy here.
So now we're going to walk. We're going to walk to Avenue Balboa, and then head back toward the U building where we started. But there's some things to see down here that are pretty nice. It's another bank, the BAC.
I know we've talked about this in other buildings, but there are no basements here in Panama because we're pretty much at sea level, right? So parking is typically on the main floor and sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 floors of the building are parking going up, and it's only above the parking levels that you start to see
Condos
residential
or offices or whatever,
residential apartments. See all those levels straight ahead? Those are all parking on the bottom. So they do not go underground to park.
There's 2 or 3 restaurants across the street there. This is the backside of the Hilton. And this is a big casino and obviously a Hilton hotel. Very nice. You can see the neon signs for the restaurants across the way. Those are nice condos too, those tall buildings, because they're looking right over the bay and the ocean. So oceanfront view.
And if we look to the left again, we would be looking towards Punta Paitilla.
Yeah, now when we're going to get to this corner, we're going to turn right, but just before that, to the left, there is a whole bunch of restaurants all in one clump that we went to a bunch of times. See all those restaurants on the side there? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 9 of them.
Aeolian rooftop.
Coffee Bean, there's a sushi place, there's an Iranian place, there's a steak place,
There's a noodle
fish place.
restaurant.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's quite a few right in there.
yeah, and that's just a few more steps from where we were. Now we're going around back on Avenue Balboa, and again, this is the Hilton Hotel and the casino. This is the other entrance.
I would say this is the main entrance.
Yeah, this is where you definitely get dropped off for sure.
Interestingly, when you are in a ride share, if you're in an Uber or a taxi, quite often you just say the name of the building that you're going to. You don't really use addresses, especially on the main streets or especially with any of the major buildings. Like when we were going, we would just say the U building and that was it. We never had to say the address of where we were going, right?
Mm-hmm. So we're pretty much back at the U building right now. You can kind of see the sign there. See that YOO? And hopefully you kind of like this little tour of the area. You get an idea of the way everything looks, what's actually here. It won't be a surprise when you get here. You go like, what's it going to be like? Is it going to be dangerous? It's going to be weird. It's going to be run down. It's going to be nice. That's why you've just seen it all.
And look for our review of the U building. there are lots of rental opportunities here on Airbnb and all the different apps.
Yeah. So if you like this, subscribe. That's always nice. So, we pick up more new subscribers.
And share it with a friend.
Yeah, and
Because if you're thinking of going to Panama, wouldn't you want your friends to go too?
it's true. Absolutely. All right. Say goodnight, Gracie.
Thanks for being with us again. We love you guys and hope you'll come back and see us again soon. Bye for now.